Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to the Dawson and Denise show. Along with Miss D is joining
Yeah.
us. We've been going on this little tangent for a minute, y'all, but we want to get into our last topic of tonight. When I read the story, y'all, I just could not believe it. This is one of those that you like, for real? They did that? Apparently, what happened is a church out in Tampa, Florida. Actually, it's the New Hope Missionary Baptist Church, where the pastor is Reverend T.W. Jenkins. Reverend T.W. Jenkins. Church decided a day before the funeral not to hold a funeral for a gay man who was married. They did not realize that he was in a gay marriage until a day before the funeral when they read the obituaries. And word got back to people in the church, and it got back to the pastor, and the pastor told the deceased man's mother, who was a part of the church, that they could not hold the funeral there because they did not support gay marriage. Now, a lot of things are going through my head. How could you do this to this lady who went to your church all these years, paid her tithes, all this kind of stuff, and then to do it the day before the funeral? I'm going to
Exactly.
get into that. What do y'all think about this?
Well, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Because someone is gay, does that mean they no longer deserve a funeral? Does that mean that they no longer believe in God? What is it about you being gay that makes you less than human? And at this point, it's not even about the young man that passed away. It's
Exactly.
about his mother. Because he's gone. He's no longer there. He could care less about having a funeral or not. The funeral is for the people that are still living to say their goodbyes. So why would you do this to a long-standing member of your church who's been participating, who's been donating to your church? This shows how hypocritical some pastors are, because one of the first things you are supposed to do is treat each other with love. It doesn't matter that you didn't like his lifestyle at this point in time. It's about his mother who goes to that church, and why would you do that to her? That's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Ridiculous.
You're absolutely right. And the surviving spouse, Kendall, I think his name is Chapers, and the husband was Julian Evans Chapers. And his mother said that she received a call from the church stating that, they would not be able to allow the service to be held there because they were gay. And I'm just imagining, this lady's son has just died. I mean, the funeral is tomorrow, and then you get a call, that evening or whatever, saying we can't have it after arrangements and everything has been made. And it just goes to show the hypocrisy in church, because as I was talking to Denise when we were online, it seemed like in the church that gay men and women, lesbian women, they're used for a lot of the auxiliaries in the church, such as the choir director, the piano player, oh God, the piano player, some of the pastors, the lay ministers, people, the ushers board. We see, people who are gay, lesbian, or questioning in the churches. But when it comes to really honor, having a funeral for those people or recognizing their humanity in churches, it's like they don't exist. You struggling with that. You can't do nothing to it's like they have to be so closeted and so just hide all of that. And they really dying in these churches. That's how I feel.
Exactly. Exactly. And like I say, they are still a person. It's funny how we as humans can, a person has something about, their selves that we don't like, and all of a suddenly they are less than humans. I mean, there are worse things that a person can be doing than to be gay. Okay? You know what I mean? They could be out killing someone, murdering, breaking into someone's house. There are other things worse than your sexual identity. And I think that's just very unprofessional for a church to do something like that. Very unprofessional. And if I was a parent going to that church, that would be my last day. It's no way.
That to
And
me, yeah, I agree with you, Ms. D. That would be my like, because you're talking about your child. Of course, parent. A lot of people don't like things their kids do and everything, but still, in death, you still would want to lay them away and let God judge them. That the end. I mean, they're no more. They're deceased. So what they were, and my thing with this, Ms. D, is like, if the church really was so bent on being against that, wouldn't that have been a good time to minister to the people who came? Because obviously, they probably would have had more friends who would have been in that, gay or lesbian who would have came. Wouldn't you would have thought that that would have been a time to so-called minister to those people, or so to speak, at the funeral, instead of just saying we can't do that, we don't, that's beneath us, that's an abomination or blasphemous. I just don't get it.
It depends what type of ministry. I mean, if you're gonna get at a funeral, because some pastors don't care. They will get on the pulpit and get to bashing all the gay people. Okay, just right there, knowing that there are gay people sitting in their church. I mean, I just know, first, number one, I mean, unless he's ministering about love and kindness and how to take care of one another, then, yeah, that would have been the time to do that. But they get so wrapped up and so self-righteous. Some people get so self-righteous within themselves. They're so concerned about what other people are doing or did do in their lives that they can't even fix what's wrong within themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I just think, for the mother, I know she must be, especially being a part of a church for that long, and then having the pastor just come and say we can't have the funeral. It's just real sad. It's real sad. But and again, I would say don't go places if you know that's what you are and you're not going to change, and how they have all that pray to gay away and all this kind of stuff. And some of these, people who are gay and lesbian will sit up in these churches and, like you said, Ms. D, allow these pastors and evangelists and prophetess to condemn them to hell, tell them all this, and to basically beat their self-esteem away. If you know it's not something that's going to change, why do you continue to go Sunday after Sunday and allow the church to tell you you're going to hell, you need to let that go? I don't agree with that. Psychologically, that's not sound.
Because a lot of people live their lives trying to live up to other people's standards. And I think a lot of times when you do have gay and lesbian people that are in church, number one, they were raised in church. Let's start there. When you are raised in church, and that's a big part of who you are because that was inbred into you as you were growing up as a child, that's something that's hard to let go regardless of your sexuality, regardless of whether the church is against your sexuality. That's something that's ingrained in you. That's something that feels like home to you, safe to you, so you continue going or whatever. For them to beat down your self-esteem and kill your soul when they're supposed to be uplifting it, I don't get it, but I really think it is really, really, really ridiculous. And I'm just to the point where I feel they should refund her all the tithes that she's ever paid to that church, because it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, to tell her, it would have been better if they would have said in the beginning, listen, we're not going to do this funeral because of this. That way she could have made other arrangements. But I'm pretty sure she has planned this funeral. She's had the obituaries printed and all of that kind of stuff. And for you to get on your high horse and say, oh, by the way, you're not going to be allowed to have that here. That pastor would have hurt a piece of my mind. It's no way.
Yes, and basically that pastor at the New Hope Baptist Church out in Tampa has released a statement, I think it was yesterday or today, and said that he stands by his decision. He has no regret, for what happened. He really doesn't. It's just
and when they get big and mighty like that, they no longer care about the individual member of the church. For him to get up there, this mother is already hurting because her son died, and for you to say, well, I don't have any regrets about canceling that funeral the day before it was, why are you up making a statement? Go sit down somewhere.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's just, and like I said again, for those of y'all who continue to go to these churches and let people, like you said, Ms. D, a lot of people grew up in, the church, so they allow the pastor or the evangelist or whoever to say, come out, get that. This is what they say: get that faggot demon out of you, get that sissy, that lesbian demon out of you. And you're hearing that, knowing that in your mind this is who you are and you can't change. So of course these kids and men and women are going through life with low self-esteem, maybe wanting to kill themselves because, hey, if I, like you said, they're living up to other people's standards. They don't feel they could change, but the evangelist in the church said I could change. Sister so-and-so on the mother's board said I can change, but I'm not fucking changing. You know, it's just like, I don't get it. And they continue to go back Sunday after Sunday and let these people beat them down and send them to hell.
Dawson, but you got to realize when you've been raised up, because your upbringing plays a lot into the type of person you are going to become. Now, I'm not saying that you can't totally buck your upbringing and do something totally different, because of course it happens, but your upbringing affects you either in a negative way or a positive way. That's the way I look at it. And when you're not allowed to really develop a strong identity, a strong personality, strong self-esteem as a child, you know, go into adulthood with those same issues. Okay, being unsure about who you have what you want to be, who you are, but at the same time, you know, you've been told all your life this is how you should be, this is how you should act. And some people really struggle with overcoming that. I mean, they really, really struggle with it.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. Like you said, and somebody else made that comment too, that the mother of the deceased man should go back to the church and ask for her tithe and her offering back, everything that she put in there, because that's part of giving too, that if I get in help one day, that supposedly, hopefully, that if I go to the church, you know, will have a little something to help me out. But we're seeing that's not the case anyway, because the church, they feeling whatever, you know, we're feeling economically as well out in society, that most people, when they're in need and they go to these churches, most of the churches aren't there to give them a wedding, a funeral, or even a basket of food. So,
and I just want to know how perfect this pastor was that he can go ahead and just pass this type of judgment and make that type of call to one of your members in the church. Your member that lost her son, regardless on what it was, how it was.
Yeah. And to me, I look at what Jesus did. Jesus went to people who were down and out. He didn't go to perfect people. Look at the 12 disciples. They weren't perfect people who followed him. But like Ms. D said, the hypocrisy, or really the self-righteousness that a lot of people in church have, that they can look down on people, and you don't know what your child is going to do, or your grandchild, or, you know, anybody in your family going to do, and when they're going to need somebody. And, you know, the same thing that you did to this lady might be done to you. And it's just,
because now they don't want to do what Jesus did. They trying to be him. They making all the calls, and they want to judge and do all, like y'all said. Y'all ain't serving these people.
It's real sad. This story, you know, I'm glad we talked about it. And again, our prayers and condolences go out to the mother of this young man, as well as his spouse. But I would not, like Denise said, have anything to do with any church like this in my life. And we make a decision. And, you know, I heard a pastor say, you make a decision every day by sitting in the pews or not being in the pews. That's your decision.
True.
Yeah, it's true. You make a decision. Nobody's forcing you to go to these churches. Nobody's forcing you to sit there and take this abuse.
Yep, and you make a decision about what your pastor is going to be talking about and what type of church they're going to run. If you sit in there and you listen to their foolishness and listen to all the hate, I think a problem is that pastors don't realize that they're preaching hate and that they're killing people's souls. And my question is, what are you going to say when it's time for you to have that conversation with God about how many souls you've killed and stumped on in the church because of your message, because of your self-righteousness, because you thought you were so self-righteous, so entitled, that you are entitled to decide who's going to heaven and who's not going to heaven? That's what I want to know, because, you know, God said all sins are forgiven. He didn't say that us committing sins was going to keep us out of heaven. He said all sins are forgiven. So therefore, who are you to sit up high on your little, you know, pulpit and determine right there who's going in and out? And I think that's the problem. They think they have the power to decide heaven and hell, and they don't.
Exactly. Exactly. And like I'm just gonna leave off this note. Again, this is a sad situation, a sad story. But to people like I know Ms. D said people's, their childhood raised up in the church, and a lot of them they feel they can't do without it. There are churches, affirming churches out there. There are centers. There are different type of, new thought movements or different things that people can join where you don't have to hear all of the dogma and the rhetoric. I mean, it's just like people. To me, there are so many people who, we did a show topic about one of the famous prophetess who came out and said that she had sex with men and women, and I think she only used that for a book deal or to get her stage play up. It's like when things become convenient to these pastors and some of these evangelists, then they say it in order to, oh, I've been there, I've done that, but you can change your life around. I did it for me. And, every situation is not the same. And, you have people like Donnie McKirkland that most people in the church tell gay people, look up. If God can change him, God can do it to you. Well, I always ask, is Donnie McKirkland married now? Where is his wife? I mean, he's so, let's be honest.
You never know. You never know. Because you're right. There are a lot of people that will sit in front of you and say, well, I've changed. I'm changed. And then years later, you found out that they never were changed. And they are going through the same issues. They are not comfortable with within their own skin. They don't know who they are. Okay, they're scared to be who they are.
And then they're going to leave the church and give it right on up. Because then why need to leave?
She came back. She left. She's done a lot of things that we'll have to do a whole nother show on her because God knows, Lord knows. But to that extent, I mean, she did come out, Prophetess Bynum, and say that she was with men and women, and people just bashed everybody on YouTube about that. It's like these people are human. Just because they put on a collar and a robe doesn't make them God.
And they even bashed us for even talking the truth about it or just speaking on it, and they even bashed us.
It's like she said it. Donnie came out and said they came out. It's like if they come out and say they're struggling with it, that's their story. But like Ms. D, like you said, you can't make your story everybody's story because everybody is different and every circumstance is different. And I think that's where we have people that get into this conversion therapy, reparative therapy, all this kind of stuff, because they're saying, this is not right, this is not this, and you can change. And they really go through some very, really rigorous things with these teenagers and kids to try to make them change. And they end up, a lot of them killing themselves, hating themselves, and doing all kind of weird stuff, because they really feel that they've let the church down and let God down and let everybody down. But you got to live your own life for you. That's just how it is. You got to.
Kill yourself, and your pastor say you can't even have the funeral there.
I know. And you done beat the drums and played the piano for the church for 30 years, and you can't even give you a fruit basket and peanut butter. Man, look at here. Y'all, it's time to get right. It's time to get right. Just because that stuff was there for our grandparents don't mean, and they needed it. And like I told somebody, I say, our parents and stuff, the church was there during the civil rights movement. That was a haven for us. But just because it was there, we use it it's there in a different way now. That's not our haven. Like you whatever the pastor says is golden, because now we realize that the pastor is human just like me. It's crazy.
Yes, and I really believe. You have to be careful who you're following, because a lot of people want to be spiritual leaders and they don't have the calling. You got all these people popping up out the woodwork saying they have been anointed by God, but when I look in the Bible and I read about the different people that God chose, out of all those people in the Bible, it wasn't that many. Okay, but now we got a world full of God's chosen people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And see, people like that, Ms. D, and that's what I was thinking. People who want to be led by somebody, they don't want to work for anything. They just want somebody to blow on them and give them a handkerchief, and then their life has changed. People like the tangible. Oh, they touched me, they prophesied to me, and they told me I'm gonna be a millionaire. And
let me tell you, not to cut you off, let me tell you what I was looking at. It was this thing, so they had like a praise break, and the people was dancing. So after everybody stopped dancing, the pastor said, "Oh, and for those of you that didn't dance, you won't be getting your blessing." I was like, "Are you serious?"
Who is he? First of all, who is he to say who gonna get him? I thought God decided.
Oh my God!
They're no longer following God. They think they are God. That man sat there and said, and he was so loud and so angry. And those of you who didn't dance, oh, y'all won't be getting your blessing. And then it's like what we said. Y'all sit here and go back next Sunday.
Mm-hmm. And to
Yeah,
me,
I would have left the church. I would have walked out because number one, it's not man who decides what blessing I'm going to get. God gives me a blessing, not you.
exactly.
Oh, I mean, they think that they passing out blessings and will. Like they decided whether you was gonna be here or not. They didn't wake you up. God woke you up.
Exactly. And that's cult. It's called cult dynamics. When a person in the mic who has the mic in the church and they can use cult dynamics to praise your way out, or God sent me, or I'm the one with the mic, I'm the leader, I'm the authority. And that's why Denise used to attend a church very briefly, and I do mean very briefly, where the pastor used to always get up and used to speak over people and call people out. And I told Denise, I'm like, look, I will be coming there. You know, I went to one little function they did, but I don't need that because I don't think God has to use me to use you to call me out. If God want me to know something, God ain't scared of me. God will tell me. But since people love the spookiness or the spectacularness of, oh, they picked me out and told me that I ain't gonna be on welfare no more. It's like that just makes a person, oh, they told this person you healed from this and healed from that, and then they come back 10 years later. Was their prophecy real? It's like, come on, man. Life and death is in the power of your tongue. You can speak over your own life. And I think that's what most people need to start doing, and stop giving their affection and attention and money to people to tell you what you should be telling yourself. You are healed. You are blessed. You are, put here to live an abundant life. You could tell yourself that. You don't need the prophetess to come down.
That's $50.
People need to take charge of their own lives. It's not going to fall out the sky. It's not, okay? You want to get off of welfare, you want to do better, well, then you're going to have to go out there, go to school, get a better job, hustle to do better. Just because the pastor said, oh, and you're healed and you're not going to have blood pressure and stuff, but if you're still eating fried chicken and steaks and mashed potatoes, no, you are not healed. No, yes, you are still going to have high blood pressure. God gave you a temple. You have to take care of it. Ain't no miracle prayer going to heal you if you did not do your part. You have all the tools you need to live a satisfying life. That doesn't mean you're going to be a millionaire, but you can live a satisfying life, okay, to the best of your ability, and your pastor has nothing to do with that. Use the good common sense that God gave you. Everyone is ingrained with it. All they have to do is access the common sense.
But Miss D, I did buy this spring water that I got from Peter Popoff. They did send me this bottle of spring water. They told me if I spray it around the house and I run around, then I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna have a big Bentley in the side.
Let us know when it happens.
Let us know.
And spray water from you.
I sprayed it on the floor and I slipped and I fell and I hurt my feet, so that's why I've been running. No, but see, these gimmicks gotta stop. I don't believe there are gimmicks to God. I don't believe we have to put people down and we have to appease other people by saying I can't have this person funeral here and I can't do this for this person. Because like you said, if I was a pastor, I probably would have just had to bite the bullet. I wouldn't have never did that to a family the day before the funeral. So I would have had that. To me, that just, I don't even know the people, and that really hurt me.
That was.
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't, a lot of times churches, they have a long-standing member in the church and one of their family members passed away and they let that person have the funeral at the church. I mean, that's not new. It shouldn't matter what type of life they live, okay? It's not going to affect the church.
I know. And especially with the funerals that we have, people with their shirt, the name on the shirts, got liquor bottles, got chains all in it.
You can do that one.
I know they could do that one, and people by casket doing this, all the homeboys and doing the sign, and oh my God! But when it comes to this, no, we can't have it. But like you said, there's a lot of hypocrisy.
We're gonna wait to see what's gonna come out with that pastor. Let's wait and see what his real.
Exactly. Like I'm pretty sure he has buried plenty. He's saying that the gay person is a sinner. Their lifestyle is, a sin within the eyes of God. Well, I'm pretty sure he's buried plenty of other people that have sinned in other ways in the eyes of God. I mean,
so yeah. We're gonna open his closet in a little bit.
Oh yeah. This story, it's gonna come back. And how does he know people he done buried before having been gay or dibbled and dabbled? You don't know that.
You want to know something? At the end of the day, it's not about gay. How you know what? If we're talking about sin and things that are wrong in the eyes of God, well, how we know you haven't buried a murderer or a child molester or any of those people. I mean, if that's how we're deciding who's going to have a funeral at the church, then I suggest that you don't have funerals because
At all. Exactly.
that's
So
sin.
that's why it has to be some type of, and I ain't trying to put it, it has to be some type of underlying issue. Remember how people, when we say people that sit there and bash somebody or something, it's because that is what they are or whatever, and what they're afraid of being or coming out. So we'll see.
Yes, I mean, what was he thinking? What he think? He has the funeral at the church and everyone becomes gay? I don't get it.
I know everybody just get damned and go to hell. Seriously?
You know, I don't know. I mean, for me, I don't, and this is the problem with pastors. They want to, and I remember I explained this to my girls a while recently, that, you know, God weighs sin on an even and balanced scale. No sin is greater than the other. In his eyes, all sin is sin. So how are you going to basically put emphasis on this one sin and make it so greater that someone can't have a funeral at your church?
Mm-hmm.
He did it. He did it. And like I said, I know the mother's heart is heavy, and I know everybody involved in it is too. So that was our take on this. Until next time. What'd you say for, Denise?
But this has been a very emotional night. I mean, how you do that to somebody, mom and child? And good night.
Good night. I couldn't even sleep. I had to do this topic. I was just like, along with all the other topics we did tonight, when I read this, I just couldn't look at no more news. I just like, how could you do that?
Where's your heart? Where is your heart? Where is your compassion? Where is your love for the human child? But yes.
Exactly. But like we said before, we all make decisions by sitting in the pew, by sitting there listening to the people. We make our decision. We allow people to speak stuff into our life and to do stuff by the churches.
There's two people on here.
Yeah. What'd you say, Ms. D?
No, I see two of my pictures. I don't know why.
Yeah, I see two as well. I see two. But yeah, we thank you all for joining us. And again, I'm getting some feedback from somewhere, but we're ending anyway.
Probably just cut to the two things, because mine was open twice too.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. But
I woke up like this.
You woke up like this. But until next time, y'all love yourself no matter who you are, no matter what you are, and no matter what you're doing. You know, you gotta love yourself for you. And I hope that was conveyed on this show. Thank you, Denise, Miss D, and everybody else. Peace.
Good night.
Peace.